We're talking about violence in pro wrestling and all the, how it's been really brought up to the forefront after what happened at AEW All Out. And, I think you guys had a great point at right before we were wrapping the segment up about the business is going to dictate whether what AEW, for example, did is going to be good for business or bad for business. That's the bottom line here. With GCW, GCW knows they have a niche audience. They're not going to go and try and sell a stadium out or anything like that. There's a certain audience that is going to go watch that. And I think that's where it's going to be interesting for AEW to see where this all turns out if they decide to keep going in this direction. They did an okay rating last week. They pulled a 2.21 rating, so they had about 716,000 watching on the show. So, not a bad number. Of course, there's probably some other factors, like John Moxley turned on Bryan Danielson. You're catching everything up and, following the pay-per-view. So we'll see where it goes. But, it was interesting that I was talking to some of the more veteran guys about what happened. And, and honestly, it was weird. It was kind of sometimes the same reaction. Some said that was garbage. Should have never done it. It was terrible. But some are kind of like, kind of like me, where it's like, I didn't like the graphic images, but still, I get what they were trying to do, and that's really the bottom line on all this is, to me, is, one, are people going to watch it? And two, does it make sense if you do it? And John, I'm sure in GCW, like I said, you've seen people doing things just to do them, and it, and what's the point? There's got to be a reason. And I've always said that with like the Magnum TA Tully Blanchard match way back when, the I Quit match, which is still to me one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life. But there was, you take that match as just a match, and like these two guys beat each other up, but there was a months and months build of hatred between the two. So what happened made sense. So, John, with GCW, and it's funny you said they're actually talking about backing off a little bit.
Yes.
How good has GCW been at using that violence in a proper manner, do you think?
Most people would go, okay, independent wrestling, GCW, we're going straight to deathmatch. There's quite a few companies that put on death matches more than GCW. You have quite a few out there that is their focus. And GCW is now in a place where they're looking at sports entertainment just a touch more. Matt Cardona really helped them usher that in. It's just a matter of who wants what. It's a very interactive show at GCW. When you talk about everything has to have a reason on independent wrestling, not always. Unfortunately, they may find a road cone in the back, and guess what? We got a road cone now in the match somewhere. But also at the same time, there's a nice little story where there is the Briscoe gentleman who passed away. I can't remember which one, and I'm so sorry. Jay had a bandana on, and he gave it to one of the gentlemen at GCW, and he just always kept it with him. And sometimes you'll see a wrestler come out with it on, and that's a little homage to him. So not everything does. There's sometimes just not storylines in independent wrestling. And the reason for that sometimes is you have wrestlers that can't make every show. As independents, they may be working in Canada the next weekend when we're hoping that, hey, what happened to Mary in that storyline? Bobby isn't there to tell Mary what he's thinking because Bobby's in Canada right now. So storylines are much more loosely based. When we do get one, GCW really throws their whole behind it. We just recently had one where it ran for over 6 months, and it was just a beautiful story.
So there you go.
And I really do believe that, they're putting some pieces together. A lot of Cardona was one of them, but we had JBL just recently came down. Kurt Angle and Mick Foley will be on one of the shows here in a couple weeks. So it's starting to go through the locker room now, just like ECW was, where GCW is a nice place to come down and at least get one show in. And like I was saying, fan hive mind, some wrestlers like to come down just to get the fan experience because we throw our whole, again, behind into the show. We're screaming and yelling front row every time. Beers are flying. I've had my chair completely broken in front of me. I've had wrestlers in my laps. You have to know what you're coming for. But once you do, man, it's wild. And that's what I look forward to. So yeah, death matches, maybe 1, maybe 2 a show. I know when they're coming back to Las Vegas, they're going to be putting everything in. It's been 2 years since they've been here.
Hi, pro wrestling fans. Mark Hoke here. I'd really appreciate it if you would take a moment to join the Mark Hoke Show family, and please click on the subscribe button below. Also, please stick around and check out the incredible sponsor of this video. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on the Mark Hoke Show YouTube channel. Want a matching bonus up to $500 and have fun betting on pro wrestling plus all your favorite sports and entertainment events? Then you need to check out betonline.ag. Bet on all the top wrestling events, plus you can get a free 50% matching bonus up to $1,000 on your initial deposit. Just go to markhokeshow.com, click on the betonline.ag link, and use sign-up code BOL1000 to get in on the action today and receive your 50% matching bonus. So get in on all the betting excitement. Sign up right now on markhokeshow.com with betonline.ag.